Best friends got each other's back. We used to cruise around with a bass to the max. Everyone in school while I was in the lab, cooking up some beats that would turn into tracks. High school chillin', I was on a mission. I had bigger dreams of being a musician. Teachers always talked but I couldn't seem to listen. I lived in a fantasy land, they called it fiction. But I was gonna be big one day, playing shows on the road to a sold out stage. Nobody really cared or believed I would make it anywhere close, I would fail and fade. But that's cool, I love that, cause any little doubt gives me energy back. And now I'm in a place where I'm glad I never gave up on the dreams I had. And big dreams lead to big things, and big swings lead to big rings. Championships or the big screen, anyone who did anything took a big swing. And big dreams lead to big things, and big swings lead to big rings. Championships or the big screen, anyone who did anything took a big swing. Yeah, let's go. So if you want something big, you gotta swing fast, swing hard and commit. You might miss 10 times, but when you hit, just make sure that you get all of it, okay? People at the top took risks. Investing and testing is all that they did. It's not complicated, it just takes grit. So never give up, take a swing at it. And big dreams lead to big things, and big swings lead to big rings. Championships or the big screen, anyone who did anything took a big swing. And big dreams lead to big things, and big swings lead to big rings. Championships or the big screen, anyone who did anything took a big swing.
Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to the Pick and Roll Podcast, episode number 72. I'm here with my guys, Nikki Stees, Coach Ed Gladney, and Blaze Radio. And here we go again with Nikki.
Otherwise known as Blaze McCoy.
Yep. How you doing, Nikki? How you guys doing, man?
Well, it's just a basketball this week, so
I don't know if I can follow up push-ups on the beach. I don't know if I can follow that. Made me want to go exercise and get some work on, so props to you for that one, Nikki. Got me a little fired up. Appreciate it.
There you go. There you go. Really appreciate that. And shout out to everybody in the chat here. We got Wrestling Mama in the chat. We got this guy, Blaze Radio's in the chat. I don't know who that is. But what is up, Logan? What is up, Chad? And guys, if you haven't heard yet, and Primetime Can I Forget About You? If you guys did not hear about, we're actually on Spotify now. So this episode will go on Spotify right after this. So you can follow us on Hardcore Sports Network Podcast on Spotify. And on Saturday night, we got Inside the Mind with Just Fans Podcast with Carlos and Rios. And of course, Rios is not here when we have to talk about Victor Wembanyama, but that's besides the point.
The Oses. You got the Usos, you got the Usos. You got Carlos, Rios, those are the Oses.
Right. All right, because we have a lot to talk about today. Let's start off with the game last night. Boston Celtics in overtime take game one. So, Blaze, I'm going to start off with you.
Amazing game. I mean, what more? I mean, you got comeback. They come back, great shot to put it in overtime. I mean, both teams could complain about certain things, but it was just a great basketball game, and it's what I want. I've made it known I don't got a dog in a fight in the finals. I'm rooting for the Pacers and Timberwolves because those two teams have never won a championship. That's kind of where I'm at. I won't be upset with any finals, though. I just want game 7, game 7, game 7. And to see the Pacers push them like that and show that they could, they got luck in gardens. I mean, I know a little bit about gardening, but they got luck in the gardens recently, and they almost pulled off that game 1 win. Now, my question would be, is that going to be such a taking the wind out of the sail of them that he really could have had that with 27 seconds left, 2 turnovers, basically cost them the game. It's an amazing shot by Jaylen Brown. I watched that play probably 30 times today, just because, number one, as a former coach, you think foul. Even the coach said, I told him to foul. However, it was Siakam's choice not to. Could have been a 4-point play. I think putting him on the line for 3. Initially, I thought it was a grab and shoot, but he did pump fake it. My initial thought was he didn't have time to foul him on the floor, but he did. So Siakam, I mean, I can't really fault him because he had a great game. I'm one of those guys that'll never bring it down to one play. There was plays within the last minute that led up to that. And then in the overtime, home court advantage came up. You got Jaylen Brown in the regular part of the game, but Tatum stepped up in overtime. And then once again, big turnovers by Indiana late in the overtime. So you can't have 20-plus turnovers like they did and expect to win against arguably the best team in the league for a regular season record. But it was a great game. It got me fired up more than once, which I like. Some big plays. What I did like about it, and a lot of people are analyzing numbers now, and the free throw discrepancy. We talked a little bit about it with Mitch yesterday. I just look at it as one team was fouling more than the other. I mean, could the referees be involved in that? I just think, and I'm always this guy, make fun of me, laugh at me for this or whatever, but this was an amazingly officiated game. You didn't see people bitching about fouls a lot. You didn't see a ton of, it didn't come down to the referees' decisions. They let them play. There was a lot of, I watched Coach's show yesterday. There was a lot of hand checking. There was a lot of poking. There was a lot of touching. But I give the referees credit for letting them play. I mean, let's let the game get decided on the court by the players, and I think it did. Pacers were the better team for the most part, holding them off. But the Celtics proved why they're number one.
Yeah. Coach?
First of all, thank you for this episode. This one is real special to me.
You were born in 72?
No.
I'm 73, so the next one's good for me.
Hey.
It's my jersey number, actually.
There you go. Speaking of
Okay.
jerseys, I don't know if anybody knows who this was.
Kareem Abdul-Bamjar. I don't know.
Ron Mercer.
Ooh,
Okay.
that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah. So
Loved his game. Anywho. Good, Coach.
in terms of this game, I mean, I was trying to watch it while I was doing my show. So, from what I was seeing, number one, Boston jumping out quickly. I'm going to be honest. The way they started that game, I thought they were actually going to really run them out of the court, off the court. And, got to give credit to Indiana as much as I can't stand them right now. But they fought back. And they're showing that they can play, different spectrums in a sense. If you want to try and get physical, you can. Now, I'm not saying they're a physical team. The Knicks were worn down, but they are showing, and even in this game yesterday, they were showing that they were going to be physical with Boston. And, that's something that I love. I love physical play in basketball, in sports in general. But in basketball, the hand checking is the only thing that, sometimes I'm watching and they're stopping movement. That's the only thing I'm concerned with, because that is a foul. But if they have their hands on them and they're just riding with them, then I don't have a major issue with that. But Boston started out, and then Indiana tied them at the half. And Blaze, you called it right down at the last second shot in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I forgot who was talking about it today. He wasn't going to foul him because he didn't take a dribble, because then if it's a dribble, then you can probably get him before they gather. Then you send him to the line. But because he didn't dribble, it made it difficult to try and foul him. because then it would have been possibly a 3-pointer, 3 free throws. And if he did get the shot off and it went in, then it would have been a 4-point play, which would have put them behind the 8 ball at that point in time. So, good game. For the most part, it was exciting. I think at first I was saying Boston. I wanted Boston in 4, but it's probably going to go 6-6, and it wouldn't surprise me if it did go 7 now. Porzingis, I think, is going to be a big factor going forward whenever he gets back. But right now, Indiana, all they have to do is get to tomorrow's game. If they get tomorrow's game, they're perfect at home right now. So that can actually put them in a good position. So that I think that's what their focus is going to be. They knew that they had the opportunity to win this game, and mistakes they made. They made the mistakes that allowed Boston to come back and steal the game. This was definitely a steal by Boston. So, but again, it's going to be interesting tomorrow. What kind of someone just put it in the chat too? What kind of adjustments are each team going to do? But specifically the Pacers, what are they going to do? Are they going to push the envelope a little bit more? Because it does seem like Boston can run with them, but it just seems like the Pacers are at another level when they push the envelope and they move the ball up and down the court, because they get that ball in quickly and get down into the half court, and you're causing mismatches right off the bat. The defense can't really set to whatever player they're looking for. So, but I know Nikki and you got things. I'll ramble on about this. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah. Hey, before you do that, real quick, now thinking that coach said that, the only thing I analyzed this play a million times, and us Sixers fans know about amazing corner shots, unfortunately, to win games. And the only thing I'd say, Siakam, you're 6'8". Just put your hands up. You don't got to touch him. You can be a step back. He didn't put his hands up. I get it, not wanting to foul, but it looked bad holding your hands down. If he would have just stood there with his hands straight up, maybe it would have altered the shot a little bit. But it was an amazing shot by Jaylen Brown. Go ahead.
Correct.
All
Nikki.
right. Yeah, I mean, it was, credit to the Pacers. They played a hell of a game for game 1, and they took the Celtics to the wire. And now this could set the tone for the series. And if it does, this could go 6 or 7. But, hey, we will see. But I'm glad that this series started off with a great game 1, because from my viewpoint, I'm going to it thinking, okay, this seems like the most obvious from a prediction standpoint. Boston's going to win. I'm hoping for something to at least make this an interesting series. And last night, well, sure enough, you got that last night. You had a nice game, and credit to the Pacers, because the thing I noticed is both teams were able to score. And what I mean by that is I'm looking at the score box right now. You had Tatum 36, Brown 26, Horford 15, Holiday 28, and then Derek White had 15. You even had 8 from Pritchard. And then, for the Pacers, you had Siakam 24, Nesmith 14, 23 for Turner, 25 for Halliburton, Nembhard 12, McConnell 13, and Toppin 15. I mean, if the Pacers can get their guys the ball and score throughout the series, they have a chance in the series right here, instead of just leaving 1 or 2 guys to do all the work. I think that's what kept both teams in the game the entire time. So this was just a really good game right here, and at least gives me something to look forward to. Even if the Celtics end up winning in 5 or 6, they end up being mostly close games, I'll take it, because at least we're getting a competitive series. Because sometimes you can have 7-game series where the games are blowouts. Remember, this seems like a random one, but remember the 2009 opening round between the Heat and Hawks, so they were trading blowout wins, like Dwayne Wade, Joe Johnson. And then that year in the finals, Lakers and Magic only went 5 games, but they were a good 5 games. So sometimes the game quality, it's not about how many games it goes. You could have a series be a sweeper, go 5 games, and be competitive games and be entertaining to watch. But then on the flip side, you could have certain series go 7 and be trading blowouts. But I'm glad that at least start off on a good foot, and credit to the Pacers. Maybe they might find a way to win 1 or 2.
Yeah. Tiro, what's good?
What's up, guys?
What's up, man? We're just talking about the game from last night between the Celtics and Pacers. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, so I didn't catch the game until the second half, but I was keeping track of it from the beginning. From the beginning, I thought, I think it was Coach who said it. I thought Boston was going to just steamroll the Pacers the way they started off. But give the Pacers credit; they hung in there as much as I wanted, as much as I want them to win this series. I want it to be Pacers and Timberwolves, just some miracle. I originally said Celtics in 5, but with the way I know it's only one game, but with the way it looked, it could go to 6, maybe 7. I said the same thing when they played the Knicks. I said Knicks in 5, and it just came back to bite me. So the Pacers are a competitive team. They're showing it. What I'll say about what I saw is, Tatum and Brown, they did their job. The Pacers, see, like the Celtics, the what I'd say about the Celtics going into game 2 is that they really got to work on their rebounding, because like late in the game, you saw the Pacers getting pretty much all the rebound, and that kind of tells you that they're really missing Porzingis right now. Like, and that's a big factor going into game 2. So if I'm the Celtics, even though they took game 1, I would adjust on trying to get the rebounds a lot better, maybe work on the box outs a little bit. And if I'm the Pacers going into game 2, I would just try to get to the line more. They only had, I think, 10 free throws in that game, and Boston had, I think, 30. So they got to find a way to get to the line more. But like I said, I only saw the second half, so I didn't catch all of it. But it's looking like it's going to be a good series. So.
Yeah. So for me, for the Pacers, it's about the role players for me. You have T.J. McConnell dropping 13. You have Nembhard, who's taken a huge leap in his second year, dropping 12 points, crucial times. Obi Toppin, I would love him to be on the 76ers right now, coming off the bench. That guy is athletic. He can shoot the ball when you need it to. I love Obi Toppin's game, and that was a great move for Indiana to grab him off the bench. So they're a really built team, really well built, Indiana, and they got rid of Buddy Hield. Looks like that benefited them. It really did. So shout out to Indiana for that game. I mean, I'm telling you right now, Jason Tatum missed 2 crucial game-tying shots, and then Jaylen Brown hits his shot in the corner. That proves that Jaylen Brown just steps up every time when his number is called. Shout out to Jaylen Brown, man. Like, wow, what a game from him.
Hey, Mitch, I know this is. Yeah, finish up. I got something.
No.
I know this isn't on the docket as I'm looking at it, but I saw this on TV the other day and on social media, and I want everybody's take on it, because we have talked about this in the last couple of weeks, how Golden State had their dynasty. You go back to the Bulls and the Pistons and the Lakers and the Celtics, and now we talk about parity. Now, my take on it, and the question will come at the end, but my take on it is, I think the parity is here because we got superstars on almost every team. We got a lot of people that are stepping up. We got a lot of superstars instead of just Magic Bird, Dr. J, Kareem. You know what I mean? Like, there was elite. There's so many players that are either elite now or could be elite. I think that is why, part of the reason why I should say that I don't know. Do you guys think the dynasty season in NBA is over? Are we seeing continuous parity, or, not that dynasty will be dead, but do you think the current dynasties that we've seen, that type of dynasty, the super teams are done for now because of all this parity?
I've been saying that they've been done for quite a while now, just for the matter of fact how Denver won their championship. And they showed you, they gave you the blueprint. You don't need a super team. You got Jokic, you got Murray, you got Michael Porter Jr., you got these other guys that can step up, and that's what we're seeing now. Look at Minnesota. Yes, they do have a big 3 with Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert. That team has some dogs off the bench. And then you got these other teams right now, the Mavericks with the Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic pairing. We thought that would never work.
Mm-hmm.
We thought that would be like just go to the wayside, the defense, just blow by. But now they're in the Western Conference Finals. Jason Kidd has been coaching really well over there. So I think dynasties are over. I think like the super teams are over. I really do. I really do.
I'm looking around, I'm trying to find one super team in the NBA. I can't think of one.
Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad problem to have, because I think there's more great teams now. Coach, what do you think? Old school,
Yeah.
Are the dynasties like not dead, but are we seeing a change in possibility of dynasties?
The way the CBA is constructed, your super team principle is null and void right now because of the penalties that are associated with it. So teams are not going to do that. They're going to try and win with their younger talent as soon as they get them into the league as quickly as possible before you have to pay them. Right. So a team like Oklahoma City, that's why you're seeing the way they're constructed before they really have to start paying guys $50 million. No disrespect to TRL, but look at Phoenix.
Yeah, that's why I'm interested on his take on it too because of what they did.
Yeah, when you look at that team right there, then what about your bench? I mean, for everyone's in Knicks land there are debates about the Knicks and the bench, and I keep saying the same thing. I said realistically, the Knicks were a deep team. They just had to dive into it because the key players who were starters got hurt. But now, if you look at the team, the way it's been constructed, you're starting. We lost our starting three front court, which is Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle, and OG Anunoby right there. If you have those three, Josh Hart is coming off the bench. Hartenstein is coming off the bench. Precious Achiuwa is coming off the bench. He wouldn't have started as much. That also makes your bench deeper, and those guys were more cost effective, which allows you to. And the Knicks don't have a $50 million. Phoenix has three $50 million players, which takes away from your bench. And teams see this. They see that, and they're going to say, "No, I can't construct my team like that." So you have to look at that OKC, how they're constructing a young team. Minnesota, for the most part, yes, you have Karl Anthony Towns and Gobert making that big money. Right now, Anthony Edwards is not making big money. He's not, which allows you to be able to go out there and do what you need to do. So teams are going to try and find that even balance across the whole league. Every team is going to be looking at that, looking to do that. So, that's my take on it. Go ahead, TRL.
I don't even. Okay, so I'll start with. Okay, let's go back to 2021, right, where the Suns are a very young team, right? They had just traded for Chris Paul, gave up almost nothing for him. They were drafting guys. They were trading for guys in the draft. Sorry, Mitch. Mikal Bridges. They, they were building their team without paying them. We had a very young, solid team with a veteran leader in Chris Paul leading them, who Chris Paul in our finals year wasn't really making that much money. He was on a contract year. And Devin Booker wasn't on the Supermax yet. Mikal Bridges was our number one defensive guy. And Cameron Johnson was our sixth man coming off for Jay Crowder. And you had DeAndre Ayton before he became a softie, I guess, if that's how you want to put it. So, and that team went to the finals and they beat good teams to get there. So, and you can look at the Clippers for an example too. They had SGA. They traded him away, and they traded 7 first-round picks for Paul George, and they tried to build a team with him, Kawhi Leonard, and so far it has not worked out yet. And same thing for the Suns. They traded, and I forgot who said it, but there was an insider who said trading away Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson destroyed the heart and soul of the Phoenix Suns. And I get it because, our team was they had good chemistry, and then when Kevin Durant came in, it's like everything just died for some out of nowhere. So when it comes to super teams, let's look at the recent finals, right? The Nuggets, do you really consider them a super team at that time? I wouldn't consider them. Golden State in 2022, they were a dynasty, but would you really consider that a super team? Kevin Durant wasn't there. So, and who else? Toronto. I don't consider that. There's teams since the 2018 Warriors, I don't think there's hasn't really been a super team that's won it. So I'd say, yeah, super teams are dead as of right now, and it's probably going to stay that way. And I actually prefer that. I don't know about how you guys feel about that, but I prefer it. I prefer it that way.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I love it.
Look at what, look at the playoffs right now. Where the teams that are left, Tatum, Halliburton, Luca, and Anthony Edwards. One of those guys are going to get their first ring.
Yep.
It's not
Beauty.
like a dynasty is going to like get another title or anything like that. So I actually prefer that. But
yeah,
I don't know about you.
I was real interested on what you guys would take on it when I saw it the other day, and I know it kind of what Coach says kind of leads into the next thing too with Mitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shout out to everybody in the chat here. Really appreciate all the support. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe or whatever channel you are on. Really appreciate that.
And on
Now
top
we
of
gotta
that, the
gain.
failures of recent super teams, since the Warriors are split up, like the Nets, the Lakers failed super teams, has kind of given the teams the incentive to back off and try to build a roster properly. Like the way they saw the Suns get to the 21 finals, you're starting to see more teams try to build like that in the future. And you're
Getting
starting
3
to see-
All-Stars doesn't guarantee nothing anymore, man.
Right. And
No.
now with
I
like
mean, look,
teams-
look at Milwaukee before they got Lillard.
right, and you saw with Denver Nuggets last year, more teams are going to be influenced to construct their roster that way, and especially if like the Timberwolves end up winning it this year or the Mavericks end up winning it, then or the Pacers reach the finals, that'll just continue to give teams the incentive to build around young guys, build up your team.
Mitch said it earlier too about role players. Look how important role players were. Last year after the Nuggets win, we were talking about Bruce Brown. We were talking about all these role players that helped them get there. This year, all 4 of these teams have great role players that are producing. So I love it.
Yeah. Actually, I just found this on social media. You were talking about role players. Well, Blaze, Nikki, you're not gonna like this. This is the rumored lineup for the Sixers.
Oh my god!
Oh,
You got
no.
you got
Now
Maxey,
scroll up.
Paul-
Where's it from? Was one dude. It's okay, Jacob Marino. It's your opinion.
No, he's a writer. He's from Bleacher
Oh,
Report.
stop.
Bleacher Report.
I can make one of those too and throw a bunch of pictures.
So
up
can
there.
I. So can I.
You
But
did.
I know it wasn't him. He's actually a credential. He's
Well, he said he threw up, so he's not happy with it. So,
No. So why would he? Yeah.
Well, Bleacher Report's 50-50. Sometimes they do great reporting. Sometimes it's please click on this because it's. I don't know.
I don't know either, but
The only
Yeah.
way I see Tobias staying is if he takes a humongous pay cut, like
Which-
down to the minimum, which
which-
ain't
Right.
happening.
Which
and if you're on the audio platforms, if you're on Spotify, guys, the lineup that Bleacher Report has here for the Sixers is Tyrese Maxey at the 1, Paul George at the 2, Kelly Oubre Jr. at the 3, Tobias Harris at the 4, and Joel Embiid at the 5.
Okay.
So
Next.
yeah, I just thought I had to show you that.
Sure.
I just had to show you that because you were
So-
talking about role players.
I'm more
With
with the
Tobias
young-
still there? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they. Well,
So
whatever.
you were talking about role players. Well, looks like the Sixers are going a completely different route.
No, according to Schmuckola over here, who cares? Everyone has
Yeah.
their opinion. Though they're entitled to it.
Yeah. Well,
Resign Boble. That's all I care about.
right. Now we got to talk about the game 7s for the last round. My God, the game 7s, the best 2 words in sports. Blaze, talk to me about those game 7s. We streamed one of them.
Game 7, I think it's kind of like what you dream about. You know, it's like both teams' backs are against the wall. You know, there's no, even though a player, especially a professional player in game 4 or 5 or 3 is not going to say, we're not looking for, you know, we're going game by game, you know, but they play differently up until game 7s. You can see it, you know, but when the game 7s come, it's all chips are on the table. You're all in. There's no excuses. You have to win. And I think this is why the season becomes a little more important, because home court advantage in game 7 should always be, you know, really important. It's not always. And we've seen those anomalies and it happens. But at the same time, you're going to get the best out of just about, you're going to get a little more, I should say, out of a lot of people in game 7s. And I think it's the intensity. It's like you got to be on the edge of your seat because you know there's no tomorrow if you lose. You know, it's the same if you're down 3-0, 3-1, 3-2, but there's even more pressure, you know, because you don't think being down 0, 1, or 2 that you still got to win more games. It's just one and move on. So there's a feeling of relief if you can complete the game 7. So it's just high intensity throughout game 7s, and I friggin' love them.
Yep. Coach, I know this is a short subject for you, but give me your opinions on the game sevens.
I mean, if you love it, then you're excited about it. I mean, the past two game sevens. I mean, the Knicks, honestly, they were beat up, so they really couldn't put up a massive fight. But the one with Minnesota, I mean, beating Denver in Denver, of course, you're as a fan, you appreciate it, you like it, you love it, and you want more because I do understand what Blaze is saying. So, the game sevens, they had their own great storyline. Credit to them disgusting Pacers. But they did to give them their credit. They were smart. They did They were like sharks smelling blood. The Knicks were wounded and they went in for the kill, and that's exactly what they did. So you have to tip your hat to them in reference to that. So, but like Blaze is saying, with the game sevens, the intrigue, it's winner and win or go home, plain and simple. It's no more tomorrow. So, as a competitor, you love that. That's what you want. That's why you get involved with sports, because of the competition. And you know what? Situations like that. Who's going to step up and who's not? What's the movie in Major League where the guy hit what's his name? The Kahunas.
Yeah.
The guys are stepping up to grab their Kahunas and produce. And Tyrese Halliburton went off. I mean, he did his thing. So, same thing with Edwards. Now, Ant Edwards didn't score as much, but he let his defense and everything else, which greatly contributed, which enhanced the.
You all right?
Coach,
Oh,
it looks
You
like we
losing him.
lost you there.
Oh, I thought that was
No,
me. What the hell?
no,
No,
I'm
he's back.
fine.
Oh.
He's,
Okay.
Yeah, I
Alright.
was done. I
we
was
lost
done.
him for a second. Here we go.
Oh, okay. All right. TRL, how'd you feel about the game sevens?
I mean, it's kind of like you're playing for like your like you're with your job on the line. I mean, but
Yeah.
these players love the game. They gotta do whatever it takes, even if it's like the Pacers beating up on an injured team. I mean, you can hate on the Pacers for beating up an injured Knicks team as much as I think the Knicks would have demolished them if they were fully healthy. The Pacers did what they were supposed to do. They beat an injured team. So, I mean, now I don't get. I know we're talking about game sevens, but when it comes to the injuries for the Knicks, I mean, yeah, I mean, Thibodeau has his reputation, but at the end of the day, you play with the players you have. So, I mean, it is what it is. But when it came to the game seven for Timberwolves and Nuggets, I mean, when the Nuggets were up 20, I was like, yep, it's a wrap. Denver's gonna play the Mavericks. It's gonna be Jokic and Luka, which is something I was waiting for, honestly. But that's what the Timberwolves did. They didn't give up. I mean, Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. I don't like. No one talked about what Karl Anthony Towns did in that game seven. It's like he was the one that did it for them. So credit to the Timberwolves. I mean, I hate that it's the Timberwolves and Mavericks, as I really wanted Denver to do it, but it is what it is. So, I mean, the game sevens, very fun to watch. Even if it's a blowout, it's still a game seven. So, I mean, they're fun to watch for me no matter what. So, both of them were pretty good, and let's see, what happens next, I guess.
Yep. And Nikki, how'd you feel about those game sevens?
And on one hand, it's good for ratings. You get a few game sevens. Now, as far as starting with the Pacers and Knicks, I mean, hey, look, I mean, the Pacers did what they had to. I mean, the Knicks should have in paper closed the series, but you already had Jalen Brunson already a leg injury, then his broken hand late in the game. That was pretty much a wrap. But the Knicks were they were beat before they even stepped on the court in that game seven. They just did not have what took to keep up with the Pacers. Pacers did their thing, and they kept some of that momentum going even in defeat last night. Now, out west, Nuggets, T-Wolves, hey, credit to the T-Wolves for being resilient, making that comeback. They did what they had to do. They been proving people wrong all season long. We didn't think that they'd be here in this spot in the first place. We saw how the Rudy Gobert trade went year one. We're like, yeah, this team's not going to go that far. But they did end up they made it to the playoffs itself. They swept the Suns in the opening round. No offense, TRL. But then they, went on, beat the defending champions and came back. They didn't give up hope in that game. Even when others were thinking, okay, they're out of it. Bring on Nuggets Mavericks.
And again,
that made for a good game to a great series.
Yep.
Go
and
ahead,
again, I'm going to say this again. Role players. You look at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, he pretty much didn't shot well the whole game until the very end, but some of the teammates picked up the slack for him. I mean, that bench, it is so good. And again, with the Pacers, you had Nembhard, you had McConnell, you have these other guys who stepped up in big-time situations. These teams are built well, and that's one of the reasons why. And it's actually not one. It's the main reason why they are where they are. Is how you built the team from the ground up. So, yep. And then now we got to talk about. Apparently, there was Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson. They were talking about extensions for these guys. So the Cavaliers feel. Oh my God! Remain optimistic. Donovan Mitchell would sign a 4-year, $209 million extension this offseason. This is from Evan Siduri. How do you guys feel about this? Because honestly, I feel Donovan Mitchell is going to get traded. I don't know where, but this is from Brian Windhorst as well. So.
Who knows? I mean, I know we're going to talk about Brunson too, and I know, Coach, we've already kind of touched it in the private chat and stuff that he's not getting paid as much as he deserves after this year, most certainly. But taking the hit early to help the team stay where there is big, and I love the fact that is what they've worked out with the Mitchell thing. I'm kind of with Mitch on Mitchell. I think it's more likely that he's going to end up somewhere else, in my opinion. But I wouldn't be surprised if they try to lock him. You want to lock him down. I mean, he really helped them. He stepped up in the playoffs this year, and I think the Cavs were better than I thought they were going to be this year, and he's one of the main reasons, as well as a couple of their role players, of course. And they're young still too.
Yeah, I mean, look at that front court they had. They had Evan Mobley, Garrett Allen. Darius Garland is actually on the trade market.
Mobley's game's great. I love Mobley.
I
fell in love with him
Garrett
this year.
Allen might get traded as well. So
yeah, we'll see. But I hate Cleveland, so they can lose everybody for all I give a shit. They can have Tobias Harris.
Please do, please. TRL, do you think Donovan Mitchell will sign this or get traded?
I mean, if it's true what he says, I'm happy in Cleveland, then yeah, he should sign that. But I read something, I don't know if it's true, that it may come down to Cleveland choosing between Donovan and Garland. Yeah. So, because I guess they can't extend both of them or give them both $200 million or this and that. But I mean, I feel like Donovan should resign. I think Cleveland's actually, in a better spot than people give him credit to be in. Because I mean, it just came down to Donovan getting injured and Celtics winning 5. And I think for a couple of those games, Donovan was out. Cleveland was still being pretty competitive too, and they still didn't have Jared Allen or anything like that. So they were still being pretty competitive for a team without Donovan against the best team in the NBA right now. So now I get it, and there's always going to be that rumor. I don't know why. There's always going to be Donovan to the Knicks for some reason, which could happen, but
Coach is like, no, they don't need him. They got a good team already. But that is true.
Yeah.
You're right,
but if I'm Donovan, I would resign. I mean, Cleveland's in a good spot. At least I think they are. But I don't really care for Cleveland. So get rid of him, keep him. It doesn't matter. Just don't come to the West.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the other offers too, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, Coach, how do you feel about Donovan Mitchell? Do you think he's going to stay or go? I think
right now, it doesn't matter because he doesn't have to sign. He's still under contract for 2 more years. So really, next year is the big key. So, and I think that's what he's trying to do. He's really playing it smart because he's saying the right things.
Mhm.
I want to stay in Cleveland. Hey, he's there. He's also telling Cleveland, I want to stay here, but you guys better make sure that you're building this team to compete for a championship. If not, when I have the opportunity to be out of here, I'm out of here. And whether it's going to the Brooklyn Nets, the Miami Heat, the Los Angeles Lakers, that's a different story. But that's the whole thing. And as far as the Knicks thing, no, the Knicks are not going to go after him. They don't need him in that regard. I know the Stephen A's want a superstar, but you know what? If you get him, you got your team. You got your team, and that's the whole thing. You're getting rid of draft picks. You're getting rid of guys. You may even have to get rid of Julius Randle to bring him in here.
Dude,
So
there's
it's
one
like-
name, Coach. The reason why, I mean, last year, Donovan Mitchell, I could see for your team, but you got Jalen Brunson now. Jalen Brunson just
Exactly.
turned into an elite player, so you don't need Donovan Mitchell.
You don't need him. You don't need the two, and that's the thing. They're both two ball dominant
Yes.
scoring guards, and they're both basically the same size. So
Mhm.
teams will also defensively take advantage of them. So no, you don't need Donovan Mitchell on the Knicks. You know, yes, there's a facet of the fan base that wants him. I get it. He's from New York and he wants to be in New York in that regard. And, you know, I get it. I understand. But realistically, the way the Knicks have been constructed right now, no, you don't need him. So, you know, there's other ways that you can go. But Mitchell to Miami, to the Lakers, or if he wants to go to New York, go to Brooklyn.
I've seen the Lakers stuff too. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we just talked about super teams being gone, but I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron tries to put one more together this offseason.
Right.
Yeah,
And,
he'll try.
Nikki, how do you feel about Donovan Mitchell before we get into Jalen Brunson's contract extension?
Donovan Mitchell. I think it also depends on. It might be a minute before we see if he signs it because it'll depend on if the Cavs try to make one or two other moves. If they try to make another move, get in a decent role player, then maybe that could convince him to sign the contract. Maybe shortly after that move, like maybe it could be a Malik Monk. I don't know. Then Donovan Mitchell signs right after that, or maybe they don't make those moves and we don't get that contract signed.
Yeah.
I think the Cavs will have to do something to get his trust first before we know whether or not Donovan Mitchell makes that decision to sign that contract. So I think the Cavs got a lot of pressure on them to pull off another move to earn his trust.
Yep. And then we got Jalen Brunson is expected to sign a 4-year, $156 million extension with the Knicks this summer. Is that too high, too low, or just right? Honestly, it might be too low in my opinion, but it is what it is. So we're going to start off with Nikki on this one. Nikki, how do you feel about this one? Too high, too low?
Let's. Interesting, because on one hand, it's the idea of maybe Brunson wants to help build the team. Maybe he wants to make sure the Knicks have room to try to go bring Alex Burke back. Or maybe try to bring in some other decent role players to help out. So I kind of get that team mentality, but another question I wonder is, does Jalen Brunson, is he going to have some other endorsements that he's going to get paid outside of his contract extension if he accepts it? Because if that's the case, he might be willing to take that small hit because he knows he'll have other money coming to him. But now I don't know for sure because I don't know all the details of his situation, but I mean, from a team standpoint, it makes sense to try to build the team. From a player standpoint, hey, hopefully you have some other endorsements outside of that if you're really looking to make the big bucks.
Coach.
Jalen Brunson, if he signs this contract next year, if he were to wait next year, he would be eligible for 4 years, $270 million. And it would be well worth it if he still waited and you gave him that money because he's well worth every penny when you look around the whole landscape of the whole league. So 4 years, 156, you're getting him at a bargain rate. You really are in comparison to the player and what he has done for the team, the culture, and the city of New York. You know, because everyone has bought in. You can say what you want. Oh, it's too little. He will be king of New York. He literally can go anywhere in New York and probably get stuff for nothing. So he'll have other opportunities to capitalize economically. So if you're asking if it's too little, yeah, it's too little based on who he is and what he's done with himself in the league and what he's done for that organization. Yeah, he's trying to help out the Knicks. He believes in Tibbs. Leon Rose, most people forget, Leon Rose was his agent before Leon Rose went and became the president of the Knicks. So that's family. His dad is there. His family loves being there. I mean, look, he has his podcast, so the opportunity to financially capitalize is going to get there. He has so many different endorsements already as it is. So he's going to more than make up for the money that he lost. And I mean, I know that's a lot. You know, you're talking about $114 million difference based on 1 year. So, but if you get them for signing for that, that's cheap. That's definitely, and that also allows them because Randall next year is also in a contract year. So you're setting up where if he's there, you can pay him and not be totally in a penalty in terms of the cap. So, you know, and it also looks at what are you doing with Hartenstein? Is this opening up money? Because when you look at the Knicks, Hartenstein is a free agent. Achua is a restricted free agent. Burks is a free agent. Bogdanovich has a team option that they can pick up. You also will have OG Anunoby, who's going to opt out of a player option. So him signing like that is going to give the Knicks the money that they really need to do other things with this team as it is. So it's low in terms of the player, but it's just right for what the Knicks want to do organizationally. Go ahead, you got it.
Yeah. All right, Blaze, how do you feel about this?
First of all, that's a lot of money. Let's be real. It's a lot of money regardless. I mean, we're talking about comparing him and how he played this year to the rest of the league and where other people are being paid. So at this contract for 4 years, that's $39 million. That puts him in the top 20 of paid players yearly. And he definitely deserves that. Beyond that, and I don't know shit about, contracts and stuff like that. Maybe there's some incentives in there for him. Go to the finals, win the conference, go to, stuff like All-Star again, win MVP. Who knows? Because he is now in the elite talk. He has shown it, through the year and in the playoffs as well. Being in the top 20 overall of money makers is definitely where he should be. It could have been a little more like we were saying about, but if this gives them the ability, because I don't know all the numbers for all of the Knicks. If this is enough, if this contract was set up so they can secure everyone they have, that's huge. Because maybe they get someone for the bench in free agency or a draft pick, but their team really came together, and that's without Randall. Like him or not, he's going to help that team next year, maybe even be any better. So I think this is a great thing to see him getting a top 20 contract, number one. And like Coach says, I think he's just going to keep proving it every year that he is elite, like he proved this year, and an MVP candidate perennially.
Yep.
Good for him.
Correct. TRL.
So this contract, in Brunson's favor, financially wise, it's low for his talent, what he's done as a Knick. But for the New York Knicks perspective, that's just right, obviously. So, if Brunson wants to, and $156 million, and like anybody should take that in a heartbeat, no matter how good you are. So anybody should take that. So for the Knicks, and look at it from, what he's going through in New York. He has he has a bunch of Villanova teammates on his team. I think his father works for the Knicks too. So, he's in a good situation. So money isn't really, it shouldn't be, that big for him as much as he deserves, the $270 million that if he does wait an extra year. But I mean, the Knicks were injuries away from, still being in the conference finals. So if they, can bring now I don't know every contract for the Knicks players. I don't know who's directly a free agent or not, this and that, but if they can be able to keep that team that they had this season, maybe add another bench piece or two, and I know they have a lot of picks, draft the guy that they need. Then I mean, hey, this contract, it's team friendly and Brunson wants to win. So, that's a good mindset for Brunson if he does accept this contract. But, it's a win for the Knicks.
Correct. Yep. And now we're going to for the all rookie teams. So for the first team, we got Chet Holmgren, Victor Wembanyama.
Shout out to Rios.
Shout out to Rios there.
Hey, we got a Rios update, by the way. He's at a baseball game. He caught a foul ball and gave it to a little kid behind him. So big shout out to Rios.
Yeah? Oh, dude.
He tweeted it about a half an hour ago, so I figured I'd give him a shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Rios, man. And he will be my guest on Inside the Mind this Saturday on the Hardcore Sports Network at 8 p.m. with his co-host Carlos from the Just Fans podcast. So, and then back to the first team all rookie, Chet Holmgren, Victor Wembanyama, Brandon Miller, Jaquez, and from the Golden State Warriors, I still can't pronounce his name. Podziemski. There we go. Podziemski. And then for the second team, we got Derek Lively, Amen Thompson, Keontae George, Cason Wallace, and O.G. Jackson II. So I'm going to start off here with TRL. How do you feel about these first two rookie teams?
TRL's not here.
Oh.
He said got a dip in the private chat.
Oh, okay.
About a minute ago.
Shout out to TRL. So we're going to go to Nikki here. How do you feel about this, man? How do you feel about these all rookie teams?
Some solid picks right there. You got Wemby, of course. You got Holmgren, definitely played a big factor in their upgrade now that he was actually on the court from playing team to top seed in the West. You have Brandon Miller for the Hornets. I mean, the only thing on the team really worth a darn on the court that played for them this season. You had Jaquez Jr. is pretty a solid player for the Heat. Podziemski with the Warriors, I didn't really see a whole lot from him. I mean, Derek Lively from the Mavericks, solid piece. And for the most part, these are decent pieces. Amen Thompson. I mean, the Rockets took a step, got a little bit better. They could at least maybe next year reach the play. And if they, their players take that next step, or maybe they just bring in that one veteran that can mix well with the young guys, maybe to help them, give them that extra boost that they needed, like Chris Paul did for Phoenix a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a decent list, though, overall.
And let's go to Coach. You muted. There you go.
As far as everything looks. They're all good. You can make an argument maybe for, maybe Lively for Podziemski.
That's what I really don't. Say. That's what I really say, yeah.
Haven't heard much about him per se, but again, I don't know what the numbers say for him. But other than that, I think it's well deserved. And the only thing with Chet Holmgren for me, and that's me alone, and maybe it's just my way of thinking, but I always see him as a second-year player. I don't look at him as a rookie. I get it; he was injured last year, but he was in a pro camp. It's not like he's coming from college or the G League, the team. What is it? The Team Ignite and coming up. Mm-hmm. He was in the NBA. He really was. Had the benefit of the training camp to help him with his rehab, and I just, I get it. I understand it's his first year playing in the league, but those are the only two things that, I can make an argument for it, but, I do understand, where each player is and how they were selected and, where they are.
Yep. Blaze.
All right, I'm making notes because I had an idea, so I'm doing a little bit of research here.
Blaze had an idea.
It's always good to see, the youth really coming up and proving that there is a really bright future for this league with so many. There needs to be more Kentucky players on this list, number one, but there is one. Kason Wallace is there. But here's the thing. I mean, with these 10 players, yes, I agree. But there's players also that are rookies that didn't get an opportunity to really shine, whether it was injury or slow start, or maybe they're not on a team that's good for their system or system for them or whatever. But I think the 4 year and Podziemski's he's a 5, 6, and 2 type of guy. He's coming off the bench, shooting about 35% from 3. He's a role player. I would also put probably like Lively up top, way he's produced. But shout out to Randy Grady Dick, good rookie. Jalen Hood-Schifino, good rookie. Sixers got Council and Tre'Quavion Smith, who are 2 good rookies. Will Imani Bates ever come into his own like people thought he would? And then the 2 that I think could have been on this list if they, lived up to their expectations, played the whole season, et cetera, Scoot Henderson and Cam Whitmore, 2 really good players who could end up being perennial all-stars down the line so we got a nice little crop of great players. And if you looked at last year's draft, I didn't see it. It was like, who's going to be the superstars? We got Victor and then who else? You know what I mean? But I think that to have Jaime Jaquez come up, to have Lively perform, to have Brandon Miller do really well, and to see Chet and Wemby battling kind of all year for Rookie of the Year and stuff that's a feud I think we're going to see for years and years and years. I'm with Coach on the rookie thing with Chet. He does have a year of seasoning as a pro, but technically playing his first full season. But I think it just shows how bright of a future the NBA is, and so many stars all over. I love it.
Yep. And then I think wasn't Wembanyama like the first rookie to be all defensive team or something, rookie of the year or something? There was something that came out. I don't know. But anyways, now all NBA defensive teams. Oh, yep. See, here it is. Yeah, Wembanyama, the first rookie to be all defensive first team. So there you go. Shout out to Wemby. Shout out to Rios.
Yep.
So for the first team, you got Bam Adebayo from the Miami Heat, Anthony Davis from the Lakers, Rudy Gobert, who won Defensive Player of the Year for the 4th time from the Minnesota Timberwolves, Herb Jones from New Orleans Pelicans, and Victor Wembanyama from the San Antonio Spurs. For the second team, you got Alex Caruso from the Chicago Bulls. You got Drew Holiday from the Boston Celtics. You got Jaden McDaniels from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jalen Suggs from the Orlando Magic. And Derek White from Boston Celtics. I thought Derek White would be an all-defensive first team. That's the one I'm like, you can have your debate with him and Herb Jones, but
Well, the first thing that sticks out like a sore thumb, they're obviously not going by position. Because they're all forwards and centers on the top. There's no guards in the first 5.
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, like you said, maybe Derek White up top or Drew or something, but I can't complain with these are great defensive players, all 10. I give props to those guys. And we've talked about it all year. Defense is not like it used to be. It's different. I'm not going to say it's non-existent. It is very different because of the rules, because of the way the game's played, and because of the length of the season. We don't see as fierce as a defense as we used to back in the day. But props to these guys for bringing the D. Pause.
At least they didn't drop it.
They brought it. They brought it hard. They brought that D hard.
They didn't drop it though.
When they get older, it'll drop.
Are you sure?
Right now, they're bringing it hard.
Pause. All right, Coach, how do you feel about these defensive teams?
I mean, I think, one, I'm same with Blaze, where I said, they're all bigs, basically. They're all, for Herb Jones is probably maybe a wing, but other than that, yeah, every last one, is centers or power forwards in a sense. But that also tells me that, you know what, everyone talks about the big men, and you know, it's a little in a sense, it's a little man's game, or a guard game, or a wing game. This tell me this game is based around the bigs. It's always going to be based around the bigs. You can say what you want. You can, you know, the 3-point shooting and everything else, but this tells me you need the bigs to be able to get stops in the NBA.
The
Because
rebirth of the bigs, right?
Yes.
I mean, look what Jokic has done. We know Edie can do the same thing. He's coming up. We got these big guys. The biggest difference, I think, from old school big guys and new is these guys can step out and shoot threes too, which is a beautiful thing, but that's the evolution of the game. But I'm right with you, Coach, on that 1,000%, like Mitch likes to say.
Yeah.
I love that. And Nikki.
Well, we look at the guys that are on this list. We see Jalen Suggs, Orlando Magic. See Derek White with Boston. He can also play a role on the offensive side of the ball. Drew Holiday as well. Look at Rudy Gobert, and we see Boston, Minnesota. A couple guys from those teams on here. The two teams that could potentially be in the finals, which goes to show you that, you know, with all the offense in today's NBA, defense still does play some factor in the game.
Huge.
It's not saying as much now because this is an offensive friendly era, but yeah, defense can still matter at times. They can still help you out, especially in those tight games.
In the playoffs.
Yep. All right. Now we're done with all those teams. Now we got to talk about the inside the NBA, who's going to be their last season on TNT, 2024 to 2025.
18 Emmys. They've won 18 Emmy Awards. I know Coach don't like it. They won 18 Emmy Awards with that show. Here's my hot take. Podcast. Who wouldn't watch? Maybe Coach wouldn't. But if they leave, you get those 4 guys. You have a YouTube podcast. It breaks all records. Put it on a different TV channel. It doesn't matter. Do the pregame, do the halftime, do the postgame. I want those 4 guys entertaining me more. It's like hanging out with your boys, talking about basketball. Chuck and Shaq are hilarious. Kenny is phenomenal. I love when he runs to the board, analyzing and doing the coaching stuff too. And then you got Ernie. I mean, it's been 18 Emmy Awards. That's amazing. And it's still not over. It's still not over. They're still, jockeying around with this contract. How's it going to end up? Who's going to get these games? Who's going to get that games? I don't see inside the NBA these 4 guys going away forever. I think they could reinvent that show and it still be popular. I would tune right into YouTube after the game if they were on every game. So I shout out to them. Technically right now, I think that we still have next year as the final year with that show. But there's still a lot of chips to fall for finalization with these TV contracts.
Yep, and you cannot forget there were some NBA players, current NBA players, that were appear on that podcast to fill in, like a Draymond Green type.
Oh yeah, when they brought people, yeah. The women, they brought women on to come and talk shop. It was always a blast. It's like hanging with your boys talking about hoops, and they mix comedy into it more, and that's what I like. They do their little skits. They make you laugh. It's more than just here's what happened in the game and here's what I think about it. And it's not what you get on a lot of ESPN, which is yelling and screaming and here's hot take just to get a click and a like and a view and all that bullshit, making news out of nothing. So I don't want to debate.
No, Nikki.
Oh man, such a shame because that's such a fun show, man. Like every time it's tuned in to hear those guys, it felt like a breath of fresh air compared to a lot of the other stuff you hear on sports media. Now that they know that it's not going to be on the air, it's kind of a shame. I mean, hopefully they'll do something afterward. They'll at least have some platform to keep things going. I mean, reminds you like with Shannon Sharp. I mean, even when he was on FS1, he was a bit of a breath of fresh air, actually, to see not only him talk about football, but basketball as well. As a football guy, that was interesting. May not have agreed with everything he said, but hey, it was something different. But he still has his own platform now, Club Shay Shay.
Yeah.
And hopefully these guys right here will be Shaq and them will be able to do their own thing. If Shaq does his own thing, he'll definitely get views for sure. because he's Shaq. He's that larger than life personality going back to his playing days.
Correct.
And
And
then he can have different guys. And go ahead, floor's yours, coach.
go for it.
Butterfly. The reason why the guys are leaving is it's about the economics. It's business. TNT might not be able to pay for or get a contract because ESPN, what is it? ESPN, NBC, and I think it's one more. I think it's 3 networks are outbidding TNT for the right. So basically, that's what it is. So I get it. I understand why everyone loves them all. To me, they're not the number one analyst. It's always Big Perk. I love his. I love him.
I gotta go. I'm sorry, guys.
I love Big Perk. Sorry.
Big
I love. Yes, I love Big Perk.
I'm dead.
Shaq. Here's the thing. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, this is the reason why.
Opinion, bro.
No. Here's the reason why. Because and a lot of this deals with you're going to say it's because I'm a Knicks fan, but the amount of Knicks hate, they're not fair when it comes to the Knicks. That's my problem with them. Kenny is a New Yorker, and he only jumped on the bandwagon this year. Prior to that, they're always ripping. Shaq was a Knicks fan growing up, but he acts like he hates the Knicks. And I get it, as far as the competition. That's my issue. I love Ernie. Now, I do love Ernie. Ernie is fair across the board. But that's my problem with them. Barkley, he's a Sixer, so that's why he's always going to take digs at the Knicks. And I get it. I get it with him. And I don't have too much an issue. I mean, sometimes he is terrible, but my biggest issue is the fairness across the board. Criticize the Knicks when they deserve it, but you need to also give them the love and the respect that they do, and they don't. It's like they're sarcastic when they do it, and that rubs me the wrong way. Now, when you have Candace on there, Candace can be a little bit on their side, but she is fair because she's trying to feel her way, but everyone else is fair across the board. Now, if you're talking about the whole show in its totality, not just Ernie and Barkley and Kenny, then all right, you have a valid point. But if you're basing it strictly off of them, Big Perk, I like Big Perk because he's real.
He sucks his teeth. He shakes his head.
Exactly.
Says,
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
People get their point across. I'm not gonna let you talk. I'm Big Perk now. I'm gonna be Big Perk.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
That's all he does, man. He's smart,
doesn't.
Basketball smart. I'm not knocking his
No.
basketball knowledge, but the way he comes across is so unprofessional all the time. So you're contradicting yourself, Coach. You don't like the unprofessionalism of like Shaq and Kenny and those guys.
I didn't say the
unprofessional man on TV.
Blaze.
How they joke
I
around
did
and how they
I
talk
did
about
not
your
say
name.
the
You got Stephen A. You
unprofessional.
got Stephen A, man. You can have Stephen A.
Blaze. I never said
I know you didn't say they were
unprofessional.
unprofessional.
Bring in the first take here.
Okay, I said that they're not
Big Perk
fair.
So, but you can
as far as you want to talk about being in the barbershop, that's what you get when you're going to where
I
go going to the barbershop.
Beard. That's what you get.
Nah.
The soul glow in your beard.
You go into the barbershop like you and I are doing right now. We're going back and forth. This is what you get when you go into the barbershop.
That's why I'm doing it, because I'm setting an example.
No, I know that.
This is what I like about NBA talk, when people get like me and Coach do.
Exactly.
That's what I love. When when Shaq and Barkley are making fun of each other, same thing that Perk and them guys do with Stephen A. and Shay and those. I love that shit. I want it to be not so stiff and presenting, and here's the NBA reasons for today. Yeah, I love the fun part of it too, Coach. So don't get me wrong. I'm with you on the fun part and stuff, but man, it's gonna be a sad day if those guys don't get to analyze basketball.
I feel for you guys, not for me. Not as a Knicks fan, no. Now, see, if they were legitimately fair, then yes, you were right. And I think some of it I do think it's because of the years of the Knicks, and there are people who are saying it's just like the Dallas Cowboys. You're just waiting for them to let you down, and I get it. But as a Knicks fan, you're just like, nah, I just got to ride with my squad.
But see, Coach, you're an anomaly, and I'm sure you know this, just like Mitch is with Philly fans, because Philly Eagles fans are the worst fans on the planet. Knicks fans can be shitty as hell,
Yes,
too, and they have been
yes,
for a long
yes,
time.
yes,
So you guys are like the exceptions to the rule because you're real. You'll look at both sides. You're not just going to homer. Knicks fans have been pains in the ass for a long, but when they were really good, they're obnoxious. You know, and you know that. Just like Eagles fans. They're all assholes. They're all abrasive and brash. But we got a lot of exceptions to those rules here in the Hardcore Sports Network. I'll say that right now. But my whole life, I've lived and seen that, how they're two of the most hated fan bases on the planet overall, you know, but I get where you're coming from and I love it. I fucking love it.
I love it too. I love it too. And you know what I love? Game 1 is tonight between the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Who do you guys got? I am going with Minnesota. I got Minnesota winning this. And for the series, I got Minnesota winning this in 6.
Yeah.
Get Luka. Just hit him a couple right to the jaw. And get him crying to the refs every time, crying to the refs.
He does a lot of crying.
Shut up. Play basketball. You come in the hood with that BS, man. Come on, man. No, but I get it. I mean, I get it. You know, talented dude. You know, you can't let him and Kyrie take over. That's the thing with Minnesota. They can't. You're going to need Ant and you're going to need Cat to dominate or continue to dominate. So, but I'm with you, Mitch. I got Minnesota. I got Minnesota.
Nikki.
I got the Timberwolves to win this one, and I feel like game 1 at home, they got momentum in their favor.
He's heating up.
Yeah, they got game 1. They're gonna take this one right here, and then I feel like they're gonna win this series. I mean, Mavs. Look, credit to Luka. That's 2 times in 3 years they got into the conference finals with different supporting cast. But hey, Mavs, they know how to runs. But
come on, we know your Knicks choked. It's okay.
Can they close?
It's okay.
If my Knicks choke, what about your Sixers then?
We had injuries. We had a bunch of injuries.
But we had injuries too.
We had injuries.
All right. Blaze, what's your prediction?
Now, this is when we get close to the end.
Playoffs?
We got the conference finals. But I feel like the Timberwolves are going to win this one right here. They'll win the series, possibly 5 or 6 games, maybe 6. I feel like this is where, once again, the Mavs meet their final boss.
Yeah. Blaze, who you got?
This is tough. This is tough for me.
I love this Western Conference series.
Because here's what I'm looking at: momentum. Both of these teams have a lot of momentum. Now you do have a little more seasoning with the Luka and the Kyrie thing. Kyrie's been there. Kyrie, he's been on a championship team. He's not one of my favorite players, but I respect the shit out of his game, and he knows what it takes to be a champion. The Timberwolves, not too long ago, when they had D'Angelo Russell instead of Conley, they were calling them the worst starting team in the NBA a couple years ago. Yeah. And now look at it. So they have really turned it around. Same thing last year, like Mitch mentioned earlier. Luka, Kyrie, it ain't working. It ain't never going to work. They can't play together. They proved that they can. So it's going to go back to Mitch's theme for today, role players. PJ Washington, Gafford, all these guys coming off the bench. Whose supporting cast plays better? I think we're going to get Ant and Cat, Kyrie and Luka. They're going to do their thing regardless. To me, the winner of the series is who has that guy, the 2 or 3 role players that come up that really doesn't matter if you're home or away. We've seen that all through these playoffs. Game 1, though, I think the Timberwolves at home will get this one, but I would love to see a home into Game 7. I don't know if we've seen that yet. We've seen a little parity with teams winning
away.
Yeah, we've seen away, which is nuts.
Yeah,
and I love it. But I think the Timberwolves take Game 1, and I definitely want it to go 7.
Yeah.
Really quick before we close out episode 72, do you guys remember the movie Adam Sandler put on Netflix with Anthony Edwards and the Prodigy? That guy, Holman Gomez is now on the same team with Anthony Edwards. Have you guys seen that movie? I forget what the name is, but it's just ironic. But
I
yeah.
have a question,
Mhm.
and I know this is probably going to get Blaze.
Go.
Okay, if we ended up with a Mavericks Pacers final, would it just be an overrated NBA All-Star game where you're going to be pushing the scores to be 200 to 201?
Oh god.
It could be.
It could.
That would be the combination of the most high scoring final out of the last four. But
That would
like
be
I said at the very
hilarious.
beginning of this podcast, there is no bad finals with these four, in my opinion. I think the Stars are the Stars that are playing good. You can argue that the Nuggets or the Knicks could be here because they played great all year. But what happened. These are the four best teams in the NBA right now. These are the four best teams, top to bottom, and we're going to see who's the best. And I don't know which one it is. I can't sit here and say it looks like it's going to be this team or it looks like it's going to be that team. Any of these four teams, I just want competitive ball games. And like Nikki said earlier, or TRL, one of you guys said, one of these, TRL, I think he said, one of these four young elite superstars is getting their first ring. And I can't wait to see that young player so excited to raise that trophy in after the championship. It's going to be a beautiful thing for somebody.
Yep. And on that note, guys, make sure you hit the like and subscribe on everyone's YouTube channel, and make sure you follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Spotify at the Hardcore Sports Network Podcast. Make sure you follow us on Spotify at the Hardcore Sports Network Podcast. And on that note, guys, we are out. Everyone have a good one, and peace.
Fucking brownie!